Hello and welcome back to the virtual show. My name is Paul Davis.
And I'm Joe Longburn. Hello.
Thank you everyone for joining. As some of you may notice, I'm, I've got a little thing on my head.
Don't sing again, otherwise Angela will leave.
No,
and go and get her G&T earlier than expected.
That was just for you two, that was.
Paul's been singing ground control.
Strong.
Oh, dear.
Holding back the urge to sing. I'm telling you. Yeah. So
I'm just glad you stopped dancing. Oh dear.
We won't describe the dancing.
Anne knows. Let the giggling begin. It's almost like she's watched us before. Oh dear. Hello, David.
Fantastic. Love so many viewers coming in. Yeah, so everyone's piling in this evening, even.
Yeah.
So it's always wonderful to see. It's a Saturday. Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. Please let us know that you're watching live. It's always lovely to see your comments. Please drop in a hello or how you're doing. Or we have decided that hand clapping is okay. And also the what was the other emoji that we accept?
Oh, tango. No,
the tango.
Yeah. I can't remember. One of them.
One of them, anyway. Yeah.
Flamenco.
So, yeah.
Good evening, Gareth.
Yes, and hello to Anne and hello to David. We had a wonderful talk this morning from Mike Inkley that works with Olympus, so which was absolutely amazing. Not for with, yeah. Got told off for that, didn't I?
You did. No, he's. It was really interesting, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the 150 to 400 in the flesh. So.
Yeah. It's going to be lovely, and you can see any of the videos that we've already streamed live by going to our websites, which is cambrianphoto.co.uk, hitting on the winter show, and you'll be able to see all of the past recordings and all of the recordings coming up as well. Any of the recordings that are coming up, you can hit the reminder button so you know when we're going live, so you don't miss out. It's going to be wonderful.
One quick thing from me.
Yes.
Being at home, it is now bath time for the children, so if it sounds like there are wild animals splashing about in water, that'll be because my children are having a bath. So I apologize in advance. The joys of working from home.
No, indeed. So
Tina Hogg says she's here twice.
Yeah.
And Yvonne says hi, guys. And David Metcalf says Mike was great today. So that's a good endorsement for watching it if you haven't already watched it. So,
well, I think it's time to crack on with this evening's episode. And everyone show a very warm welcome to Angela, who is joining us this evening. I keep saying this afternoon, this evening. Everyone welcome Angela. Hello,
Hi.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. It's lovely to be here.
And
thank you for inviting me.
Sound.
Oh, thank you for being here.
Can you hear me?
I can hear it. I can hear it. It's just you, Paul.
I've lost everyone on sound.
Yeah.
It's me, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely you. I can hear Angela fine. Oh, David Metcalf has given you clapping hands emojis.
Get it together, Paul. Come on.
Yeah. It was that dancing earlier. He probably pulled the cable out. No, we can't hear you.
Now he's muted himself.
Oh dear. This is going to be a really good interview from Paul.
Oh, he's gone.
Oh, there we go.
It's probably better this way.
Oh, because he destroyed one of your favourite musicians' songs.
Yes. I managed to get the voice back. Look, he didn't say anything about you.
Yeah. Hello, Paul.
I don't think he's hearing us. That face is not saying, I'm hearing you clear, is it?
Hello, Paul.
Maybe we should speak.
Yeah, maybe.
How odd. It was all fine a moment ago, wasn't it?
It was. And this is why we do technical. Right. So let's get started and hopefully Paul can figure out what's going on with his technology.
Okay.
Maybe he can do a review of his gear. It's not going to get a very good star rating, is it?
It's about a 1, I'd say, at the moment.
Yeah. That'd probably be quite high.
Yeah.
Half a star. So, Angela, Why don't you introduce yourself to us? Me, myself, and I.
Well, I'm, as you say, Angela Nicholson. I am currently, I'm one of the founders of Camera Jabber, which is a website for photographers with news, reviews, tips and techniques. And I'm the founder of SheClicks, which is a community for female photographers. I've been kind of doing that for, let me think. Oh, wow, 4 years. I have to think back then.
That's a very long time.
It does seem like a long time. Yeah. It's gone very, very quickly. Prior to that, I was at Future Publishing, where I was the head of testing, and I worked across all of their photographic titles, kind of determining what products they were going to review and organising the reviews or doing the reviews. So that was on like Digital Camera Magazine, Tech Radar, Photo Plus, N-Photo, Digital Camera World. So that was quite a busy job, but very enjoyable. Yeah. Prior to that, I was amateur photographer, technical editor. That was a great job. And I'm very lucky because I still get to write for amateur photographer, and I still do a bit of work for Future as well. I write for digital photographer, and I write for DSLR photography as well. So I write for a few magazines and Camera Jabber as a website. So excellent. Enjoy all that.
Yeah. So I guess if we start at the beginning, how did you first get to review cameras? You mentioned that you worked for AP and for Future doing head of technical and things like that and doing reviews. So how did you get into a job like that? Sounds like a cool job. I take it you're a gearhead.
I am a bit, yeah. I always enjoyed reading the photographic magazines, and I was interested in photography for a long time. But I was actually working in a different area. I was working in environmental protection, and it came to a point where I really wanted to go through a career change. So and a friend of mine actually mentioned that he was going to do a photography degree, and I really felt I got to the point I couldn't really learn a great deal doing what I was doing, and I needed to sort of step up. So I enrolled to do this degree as well, and it was part-time, which was really fortunate. So I actually stopped work. I was at that time, it's really weird, I was doing 2 half jobs for the Environment Agency. I stopped doing one so that I was free the rest of the time to do the photography degree. Cool. So I did that, and I finished my degree, and then I was working as a sort of event photographer.
What kind of events did you do?
It was generally corporate events, where they were having some sort of special day showcasing their capabilities or something like that. Or because of my kind of sciencey background as well, I got invited to, like, there was a chemical company or a pharmaceutical company that invited me down, and they wanted images to show what their products were and how they worked and stuff like that. So I do that kind of thing, a few headshots, that sort of stuff. Sure. Cool. And then I was always interested in the photographic magazines, and I had a sort of background I did quite a lot of technical writing when I was at the Environment Agency, and it just seemed like a logical progression. So I applied to amateur photographer when a position came up as a technical writer, and I was really lucky and got it. So cool. that was in January 2004. So I worked as the technical editor the technical writer for a while, and then when the technical editor's position became free because Damien DeMont became the editor, I was lucky enough to get promoted. So cool. So then I was the technical editor, which was great fun.
So you used to work with Damien back in the day.
I know, yes.
Nah, Damien's a cool guy. He's a really nice bloke.
Yeah, we're very good friends. We've
we've had him come to the shop a few times. So. I remember walking around Colwyn Bay with him on a photo walk once, and the weather wasn't too fabulous, but it was good fun all the same. So no, that was cool.
Very odd, because it wasn't too fabulous when I was there either. So I'm just wondering if it's always not too fabulous.
Well, I think it was okay today, wasn't it, Paul? The weather we did see.
We have our moments. Yeah.
Yeah. But there we go. So you've obviously tested a lot of gear. Cameras, lenses, all sorts. How do you put aside your personal preferences when you're using these cameras and lenses? And they've all got different layouts. Obviously, the shutter button is normally in the same place, but then pretty much every other button is all over the place. And obviously it's difficult as humans. We quite often get set in our ways and then like, oh, I prefer using something where the controllers are in this position. So how do you kind of take that out of your mind when you review a camera so that you're thinking as neutrally as possible?
Well, one thing is, you know, once you've been doing it for a while, you kind of get some experience. You kind of realize that not everybody likes the dial arrangement in the same way. So, you know, some people love to have a mode dial, whereas other people want shutter speed and aperture dials, and that's a personal preference, and it's just kind of accepting that. And actually, I switch quite comfortably between the two, and it's learning the difference between something which is badly positioned and something you just prefer to be in a different place. So, for example, there is a camera manufacturer that for a while had its record button sort of right on the corner at the back of the camera.
Yeah.
And you try pressing that without making it
yeah, you have to move your thumb all the way around to try and operate it. Yeah, I remember
it's really hard. It's really small fiddly as well. So every video you ever shoot with it starts like that. And it ends like that as well. So it's kind of spotting those things, and you know they've obviously realised that was a mistake because they've moved away from that. So that's good.
They have.
So it's been able to differentiate between that kind of thing and just personal preference. And also sometimes you can say to people, I really like this way of working because I can do X, Y, and Z, but other people may prefer something else, you know.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel a bit conscious about giving your own sort of opinion on things, even maybe if it's not as sort of broad as sort of online stuff, or do you tend just to keep it fairly neutral?
No, I think a review is more interesting if you do give some personal preference.
Yeah.
It can be a bit bland sometimes. There is a tendency sometimes to kind of say, oh, and this is okay if you like this, and this is okay. And actually what you mean is, but it's terrible. So I think you have to kind of give some opinion at some point.
Sure.
But the thing is now, like, you know, so many cameras are so good that you are really kind of picking out little differences and nuances, and you know you can explain to your heart's content. But I will always say, you know, get yourself into a camera shop and get your hands on the camera. And obviously there were times when that was easier, you know, just to really experience it and make sure you get, because there's, you know, lots of cameras suit all sorts of people, but you've got to find the one that's right for you.
Definitely, because Mike mentioned that earlier, didn't he, that it's quite difficult to find a manufacturer that doesn't produce a good camera in the price range that you're looking for. And then it comes down to, like you were saying, Angela, all the preferences and the things that you find most important. So if weight is one of them, you might go for a micro four thirds camera. If you're more bothered about low light performance, you might go for a full frame, etc. And that was some of the instances he gave as examples. So you do reviews. Is it just cameras and lenses, or do you do accessories?
No, I do accessories as well.
Bags and tripods and things like that.
Yeah, all sorts of stuff.
And do you find that interesting, or do you prefer the kind of cameras and that kind of hardware?
I like that as well, because I'm a photographer, so you never have enough bags, do you? It's N+1
That's
with
very
bags.
true. The top of my my office cupboard seems to suggest that you can never have enough bags.
Exactly. You know, at the end of the sort of the brief respite in lockdown that we had, I'd collected so many bags for testing, and I just had to get rid of loads because I couldn't actually move in my office. But yeah, no, I really enjoy testing them, and you kind of, I think it's with every bag you kind of think, well, I love this, I love that, I wish this was slightly different, I wish that, and then you find the other bag's got the thing that you really want, but it's not as comfortable, or you know.
Yeah,
it's why we survive as a camera shop. There's no perfect bag.
Nobody make a perfect bag, for goodness sake.
Yeah, that'd be terrible.
Just to make me feel a little bit better, do you get excited about every little thing that you might find as well? So say like on a bag and there's like, I don't know, like a hidden compartment, or there's like a button,
pen holder,
a pen holder or something. You go, oh, look at that. that's exciting.
I'm very excited about the kind of tags that they've got on the zips. You know, like one of those T-bars. I couldn't be happier.
You know what?
Okay.
Yeah, or a proper
I prefer the loops. Yeah, the loops.
Yeah,
I've got a Wandered Provoke bag, and I love the loops that they've got. It's really good when you've got your gloves on and you can just kind of open it really easily.
They're really nice bags. I wish they'd use a few more valves though.
Few more valves.
It was really hard to type their names.
Yeah, it's true. And you're kind of thinking, am I saying it right? I'm sure that's what it means.
Yeah. I say provoke for that bag as well. Yeah, I really like that bag.
PRVKE doesn't really roll off the tongue in the same way, does it?
Not really. And everyone's like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. So you mentioned that you work on Camera Jabber.
Mm-hmm.
So could you explain to those that don't know what Camera Jabber is and how it came about and why it was created?
Yeah, well, so Camera Jabber is a website. And so that's the main focus for my reviews and where we post news and tips and techniques. And it's a website I created with 2 colleagues and friends. And I think we all got to the point where we just wanted to do something for ourselves, create our own website where we could put all the stuff that we wanted to cover on there and the stuff that's interesting. And I've always admired people who work for themselves. So having been sort of employed for a long time, I really wanted to have my own business, and this was kind of like the logical thing to do. So, yeah, it's just it's a really important project for me. It's work, but I'm never happier when I've actually scheduled a review or something to go live at 5 a.m. the next day.
Sure. And do you have any plans for Camera Jabber in the future? Is there anything that you're particularly aiming for, or?
Well, aside from world domination.
Well, but maybe a few steps below that one.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, we started it in August 2016. So it's kind of starting to mature now.
Sure.
And about a year ago, we had a lot of work done on it to sort of improve a few things. And we've made it a lot easier for us to actually upload things. It sounds really weird, but when you start with a website and it's a real nightmare, it looks nice at the beginning, but it's really hard to upload your posts and stuff.
Sure.
So we've made that kind of thing a lot easier. And now we're going through a phase of just tweaking a few things. We know that our SEO, search engine optimization, is good. So we're kind of focusing now on, we have got a lot of content actually, but we're focusing on regularity of content and really driving the website,
the consistency and stuff.
Yeah.
It's tough though, isn't it, because with camera brands bringing gear out, it can be all or nothing. Sometimes you can have loads coming out and then nothing for a few months, and then loads again.
Recently, we had loads of things, and I think there was a few things kind of got held up by the whole, that thing, COVID.
Yeah.
And then they all suddenly arrived, and it's like, oh yeah. So I mean, I've got a few cameras around at the moment to review. Cool. Yeah, it's been really good.
And it's so fun having like all the, and especially if you've got them like all in front of you as well, like seeing all the new little sort of things that have ssort of come to market and having a play with them. It's really
or anybody else gets to play as well.
Yeah, no, it is.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, it is quite funny though, because sometimes like I get a pre-briefing, as you guys do, you get pre-disclosure on something, tell you all about it, and sometimes you get hands-on, and then you're sort of thinking, has it been announced yet? Can I speak to these people? And you sort of like about to, and no, it's okay. It was announced 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. It is hard to keep up sometimes. And you think, oh, what date are we allowed to put it on the website? Maybe we should keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
So,
extreme caution.
Yeah, definitely. You don't want to get told off by a camera brand.
Oh, no.
And so Camera Jabber is one of your long-term projects. And you also, in your intro, spoke about SheClicks. Now, I know some people already know about SheClicks, as we were speaking about earlier, before the interview. So could you explain what SheClicks is?
Oh. Yeah, sorry. That's by the way. So SheClicks is a community for female photographers. And I started that in August 2018. I tend to do things in August, it would seem.
Right, so we need to keep an eye out for August 2021.
Yeah, well, yeah, it tends to be every 2 years, actually, doesn't it? Maybe I'm going 2 and then 3. I think, we have to go right off 2020. It's been a bit weird.
Okay, that doesn't count.
Yeah, doesn't count. So we've got till August next year. And there is primarily a Facebook group, or that's certainly how it started.
Sure.
And I just started inviting people, women that I know who are photographers, to sort of say, hey, do you want to, have a chat and do this and the other? And they all kind of invited their friends. And so we've now got over 8,000 members on the Facebook group.
Wow.
That's fantastic.
Its premise is it's friendly and supportive. So you can share your images, and it doesn't matter if somebody is, what level you're at, or somebody posted something similar. In fact, that's usually a trigger for someone to do it, because everyone gets inspired. And you'll get people, if you ask for constructive criticism, you'll get some. But if you just post it and say, what do you think? Everyone will say, be honest but supportive about it, which is really nice. And we've also, and then, after a year, so when it was a year old, so I did do something in August 2019, actually. I launched a website for it.
Okay.
And that was just because really, some people don't want to be on Facebook. So it was a way of being able to let people kind of stay in touch with what we're doing, because we have lots of webinars. They were roughly monthly, but since the whole lockdown thing, I've kind of switched. They're almost weekly now. Sometimes they're weekly, and then we might have a little gap where I arrange some more, and then they're weekly again. So they get posted on the website, and there's all sorts of things on there. So, and we've got offers and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, so that's
what's
so
the
really
URL for SheClicks?
It's SheClicks.net.
Okay.
Nice.
Excellent.
Thank you.
And we'll post that into the comments as well.
Yeah.
To make sure that people can go to it. So I mean, did you feel that there was a need for it to be born, to be made? Was there a
Yeah, I mean, it's a funny one, because it's not about excluding men, it's about trying to encourage women. When I was working on the magazines, I would see most of the articles featured pictures by men, and I know lots of women who are great photographers, but I never saw their photography. So it was, and when you speak to them, it's because perhaps they didn't know how to get their images into a magazine, or they didn't realize it was possible to get their images in a magazine, and that kind of thing. And it seemed to me that it was a couple of things. One was kind of like education, another is maybe confidence. And also there's a lot of women who are really good photographers, perhaps haven't got a particularly big following. So it's kind of an opportunity to highlight them as well, which is why all of our presenters for the webinars are women.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
So, I mean, there are some good men as well, good male photographers, but this is just,
that is a relief.
Trying to help sort of promote female photography, because if you think about it, photography is a really important part of communication, whether it's whether it's in the newspapers, or a picture being shown on the news, or how we record weddings and family life and the lockdown. And we all have different points of view on that. But if we're only ever seeing sort of one side of the community's point of view, then it's not very balanced. So it's about trying to encourage more women to show their work to the world.
Yeah.
And would you say it's working? Obviously, you've got 8,000 people on the Facebook group, but is it achieving what you expected?
I think so. I mean, it's really hard to sort of to quantify it, but for example, well, the fact is that now we've got more women willing to present webinars, which is good, but also there are more women I know now who have had their pictures featured in Amateur Photographer, for example, because they've realized how to do it. And that we had a webinar from Amy Davis, who's the features editor, and she explained to people how to submit. And suddenly, so people say, "Oh, I'm going to do it," and then there is somebody who definitely off the back of that has had their an image in the magazine, and it's about building relationships from then on.
Yeah, I bet that's got to be a nice feeling as well, knowing that it came sort of from a group that you've made, and knowing that from a train of things that you've put in place, that it's sort of evolved into something that people are getting their work sort of published because of something that you've put in place.
Yeah, it's lovely. It really is. And it's because it's not just about being a professional. It's, people enjoying their hobby as well, and feeling confident in their hobby. So like when we have a webinar, we had one the other day with Claire Harvey-May from Olympus, and she was talking about light painting. And then suddenly we start seeing lots of really amazing light painting images appear, and that's great. And then there was a woman who leads workshops on it, and everyone's signing up for her workshops. So it's kind of like helping her business as well, and everybody's learning. So yeah, it's a really nice feeling.
Yeah.
And when the webinars inspire people to post their images, it's just, it's the best feeling ever, really.
That's very cool. So obviously that's a great way of receiving feedback is, you do a webinar and it inspires people. Do you get a lot of feedback from the industry? When you've been in the industry for a long time, and you do a lot of reviews and things, and I know that you know a lot of people in the industry. So what's the feedback been like in the industry from various different people?
It's been really positive. Yeah, really good, because I think everybody wants, all of the manufacturers, all the retailers, everybody, they want more women in photography for all sorts of reasons. So they're very keen to be able to speak to women directly and find out exactly what they want. And I have had, things have changed this year, obviously, but I have had people say, would your group be interested, do you think, on feeding back about bag design, for example? Yes, absolutely. And it's about, we're talking about camera preferences. If a voice is going to be heard, you need to, it's like having a union, isn't it? When you get together, you can say, well, actually, we find these cameras ridiculously big or too small, or actually, we don't want pink cameras. There was a phase where there was that phase. That's gone, thankfully.
Thankfully, yeah.
So yeah, everyone's interested in hearing what she's got to say, definitely.
That's cool. And has it been, on the whole, positive? Have you had much negative feedback about SheClicks, or?
Very little negative. Occasionally you get the odd comment from somebody who perhaps feels a little threatened for some reason. But like I say, it's not about excluding men. It's about creating somewhere that women feel comfortable. So generally, most people just seem to get it, to be honest.
That's good. That must be a nice feeling as well. Obviously, you get the feedback of ladies creating work because they've been inspired, but also to see people from all around the industry giving you positive feedback, from manufacturers to retailers to other members of the industry. So I suppose, leading on from where SheClicks is now, and if you're a few steps away from world domination, like you are with Camera Jabber, do you have any plans? Obviously, COVID perhaps has changed what you wanted this year to look like. I know you do photo walks and things like that, but have group meetups with SheClicks. But and you've obviously done a lot of webinars. You've gone from one a month to one every week, maybe. So are you working on almost a hybrid now versus perhaps what you would have been doing maybe a year ago? What are your plans for growing SheClicks?
Well, originally I planned that around this time in this year, we'd probably be having kind of some conferences, go to a nice hotel, have presentations, do this, do that, and, have a meal and get together. And I'd still like to do that. But, last March, when I was sort of thinking, right, let's start planning this, we all know what happened. And it quickly became apparent that actually the power of SheClicks is actually the diversity and of everybody's spread all over the place. So wherever I go to, whether I had an event in the Lake District or Wales, we'd only get a small pocket of people. And there's still merit in doing that. But actually, I think the webinars have much greater power to meet people. And and to unite people, and when they inspire people so much, I think they are probably a more important channel. I think we'll always still have physical meetups, because when you have events, online events, it does kind of drive people to want to actually physically meet and have a cup of tea together and take some photos. But it just it really gelled that it's an online group, and it was really interesting, because a couple of weeks, the way I used to do the webinars was I used Zoom meeting, and I just streamed it directly to the Facebook group, because I thought everybody goes to the Facebook group, so the talk will just pop up as a video. 2 weeks into the lockdown, people started asking me where the Zoom link was. Okay. So, everybody started to be much more familiar with online events and webinars and stuff like that. Sure. And then I switched to actually using the Zoom webinar service because it just handled things really nicely. And also, I think it was about that time when the Zoom and Facebook were both having loads of updates, and Zoom wouldn't stream to Facebook. And I just thought, right, let's forget that. So I used Zoom webinar, and most times I stream to Facebook. I certainly always try to stream to Facebook, but occasionally if one of the or others had an update, then it may not happen.
Sure.
So it's been really interesting from that point of view. And obviously you build a momentum. And sometimes I think, oh crikey, who else is going to present a webinar? What do we do it on? And suddenly you find another half dozen. You think, right, that's fine.
Yeah, but almost in a way. And I think we as a company as well have experienced this. Trying to find something a little bit more positive coming from the whole pandemic situation is that it's sort of forced these communities. So obviously, like yourselves, you have a community, we have a community here at Cambrian as well. It sort of forced us together, and also given us the opportunity to push a little bit harder online, so we can bring people together. And I don't think and I know we certainly wouldn't have done it, Joel, the way that we have done if the pandemic wouldn't have happened. And we have more people within our family in our community now, and you've probably experienced a little bit yourself as well, Angela, is that you've started to see some more people come in and just be a part of the family.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is really, really nice. And I think people are always, the usual reaction is somebody joins and then they're quiet for a bit and they say, oh my goodness, I can't believe the images that everybody's got. And, and I always send regular welcomes to the new people and they're, oh, thank you for the welcome. And we have a coffee morning every Thursday at 10:30. And that is just a really nice, it's not big, but it's just a really nice opportunity. Everyone just sit and have a chat and then, discuss. We usually do talk about photography at some point, but often we talk about dogs or the best wellies that you need, and all this sort of stuff. It's great. And then occasionally we might have evening drinks as well. So I've just arranged one for next Saturday. It's kind of like, it's December, so let's have some festive drinks, and putting it in the evening rather than the morning. It means that some people who are in different time zones, they can wake up to a cup of coffee. There's a lady who sometimes joins us for our morning coffee, but it's 9 o'clock in the evening for her. So she always sits there with a cocktail, and we've got our coffees.
I think that's brilliant.
So the weekend drinks is a nice opportunity to flip that round. She's got her coffee, and we've got our cocktails.
That's very cool.
It's good fun.
Yeah, it sounds it. Anne says, fantastic community, virtual coffee mornings weekly. Thanks to Cambrian for supporting our photo walk with £10 voucher back in the day. She said that she thinks it's a fantastic community, so that's encouraging. I know Sarah talks about SheClicks a lot, and a lot of our female customers come in and mention it as well, and they've got their merch on.
Yeah, excellent. Good to know.
Representing. So apparently, Angela says there's going to be tattoos in the future, and not the ones you get with bubblegum. So we'll be interested to see those.
They might be. Yes. Well, we'll see.
That'd be great. So going back slightly to gear, because people love gear. And we were asked this question at a camera club talk a few months back. So I'll be interested to hear what your thoughts are. What are your thoughts on artificial intelligence in the photography industry, both in cameras and in editing software?
I think it's one of the most interesting and exciting developments for quite some time. I always think with camera development or any kind of product development, it's really, really interesting because you get like a new bit of technology comes along and then you imagine things that it can do. So like GPS, once that's come along, you kind of think, oh, because that can tell me where to go. It can tell me where to point the camera and do this and that and the other. But until you know that exists, you can't even imagine it, can you?
Sure.
And AI, I think what it's done or is doing for things like autofocus is just incredible. And, you know, you've got the Olympus EM1X. I took that to a railway centre, and it doesn't just identify, you know, the front of a train. It's any bit of train. It's, oh, there's a train, there's a train. It's like a little nerdy pal in there. There's a train, there's a train.
Train.
train. And, you know, it just works really well. And then I was using the Canon's EOS R6.
Ooh,
and there was some Canada geese. Yeah, there was some Canada geese. You know, they've got their black feathers and their black eyes.
Yeah.
And it was spotting their eyes, and they were, you know, tiny little dots, and following them around, and I was absolutely blown away.
It's madness, isn't it? The way that technology is.
Speed with which it picks it up. And some people say, oh, well, it takes the art of photography away. Well, I think, well, I don't care, actually, because it just makes my pictures better.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to be sharper. So actually, it allows me as a photographer to concentrate on getting the composition exactly as I want it, and make sure the exposure's right. And then, and most cameras have a pretty good stab at exposure anyway, but you get that right, and then, you know, you don't have to worry about the focus. It's just you nail your shot, you know, and I think that's amazing.
And I think it's odd, isn't it? Because autofocus, we almost take it for granted now, don't we? Whereas it used to be just a miracle that a camera could even see something and be able to focus on it without you having to twist your wrist to make it happen. And now you see, like you mentioned, the EM1X, and I remember them showing how it would track, you know, Formula One cars, for instance, and be on the helmet every single time, track it out of frame, and then be back on the next one as it's going through a section of corners. And you think that's insane when you consider that we can get images, like people say about taking away the skill of photography. I think it probably just shows people's skill even more. Because they'll be able to focus and change the photographs that they can achieve, given the fact that you're saying you can focus on not having to worry about certain things. But it's interesting to see, like you're saying, introducing GPS, it'll tell you where to point and things like that. And also seeing what can be achieved through autofocus that was never, like animals you mentioned, is one of those really, really difficult ones for a camera to figure out with the tiny eyes and things like that. And we have quite obvious eyes with a big white thing and then color thing and then a black thing in the middle, whereas obviously a lot of animals don't. But with autofocus being a thing, and you get a lot of in camera right now, you know, exposure's right, sharpness is right, so you're arguably not having to edit that in the same way as you used to. And I mentioned editing software in the question, and there's was it Topaz? I can't remember. I think it's Topaz. They brought out this new AI editing and the way it can take
Luminar
stuff. Luminar, that's it. Sorry, that's it. And taking
Luminar AI.
What are your thoughts on that and what it will do to photography and editing and things like that?
Well, I mean, there's things like the sky replacement. I think, you know, there's times when you sort of think, wow, that looks amazing. And there's a lot of times you think, oh. And I think the skill comes in knowing when to stop pushing the saturation button.
Well, the HDR feature.
Yeah, or, you know, not quite so much with the sharpening or the clarity and stuff like that. So that becomes the skill. And I think anyone who's kind of really into photography and they start using the sky replacement, they'll quite quickly exhaust the sort of range of skies within the software, and then you start putting your own in. And I kind of feel that's fairly legitimate, actually, because at the end of the day, when I shoot an image, it's a bit different when I'm testing a camera, but when I'm out having fun with a camera, I'm actually trying to create an image that I would be interested in hanging on the wall or I want to look at, and I'm not really bothered about whether it's an accurate representation of what's there. So, you know, I think that's fine. And a lot of us, you know, we can actually, a lot of people work 9 to 5 and they can only do photography in certain times of the day or, you know, at the weekend. And if the weather's not great, then you just got to shoot when you can shoot. So if you can create a really interesting or nice image with some software help, then, you know, why not? And the issue is, because, you know, you'd never get it into the landscape photographer of the year because you're not allowed to do anything.
It's such a divided thing as well, isn't it? You know, there's people that I mean, you know, we had Alex a landscape photographer on last night, and very minimalist sort of editing. But then even he mentions that's what he preferred. That's what he wants to show. And I think just picking up from what you said, it's about having fun and what you would like to enjoy putting up on your own wall, isn't it? So,
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, as much as I really love, fantastic autofocus, I'm quite happy to put a manual focus lens on my camera as well, because I find that a really kind of mindful way of enjoying photography. You just kind of, you've got a prime lens and a wide aperture, and you just go out and you might just sort of say, right, I'm just going to stick on this aperture. I'm going to put the focus here. And I'm just going to go around and see what I get. And it's just, you can really get in the zone and think about your photography and just forget about everything else, which I think is really important at the moment.
Yeah. It's almost like going back to cars where you've got a fully manual gearbox, and now like cars will drive themselves, won't they? So I guess that's kind of where driving is similar to photography, in the sense that I suppose if you want it to, photography or your camera in the future will do everything for you and make a perfect image. But perhaps a lot like now where we sell a lot of film again, people will go back to that old school way of photography in a way that perhaps has never been done before. So.
Well, I always feel quite funny when I write reviews of lenses, because you have to sort of comment on all the flaws, and you sort of say there's a little bit of vignetting when it's wide open, blah blah blah. I think
that's really hard.
I always darken the corners because I like it. So I have no, I have no problem with it, to be honest.
Do you love an MTF chart, Angela?
I still don't fully understand them, and I don't think I ever will.
I wouldn't worry about it. As long as the line's at the top there, it's fine.
Yeah, exactly. There's not too many wiggles in it.
Together, yes, that's fine too.
So I remember being at a release of a camera and somebody asked about MTF chart, and like half the room just went,
I'll draw you one.
Yeah. Sorry, Paul.
So we've talked a little bit about like what the latest technology is sort of currently on the market. It'd be very interesting to see what you would think the next step would be, because obviously you see a lot of equipment, and is there a way of predicting what could potentially come next, or have you got any personal thoughts of what could be coming next, sort of technology wise?
Well, I think obviously the impact of AI is going to continue, and things like the eye autofocus is going to improve, so that sort of like the race at the moment is to make the eyes recognizable further when they're smaller and smaller in the frame.
Okay.
That's quite important, because if you think, say, if you're photographing the bride and groom walking down the aisle, the further away it'll detect their eyes, the better you can get, the shot and this sort of thing. So I think that's quite important. And then there's the race also to get more of the eye recognition working in video, because that's incredibly processor intensive. And we're starting to see that come in, and you might see it for humans but not animals, or so I think that kind of area is developing. Obviously issues like everybody's very keen on high-res video, but is 4K enough? Should I mention heat? I don't know.
Depends which brand manufacturer you are.
Controlling heat generation in video is obviously a big issue.
Yeah.
And stabilization. I mean, that's really phenomenal. I mean, that must really annoy tripod manufacturers, but some of the stabilization systems now are amazing.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot in the continuation in the autofocus, because we feel that it's very snappy now, but when even on things like looking at the new Canon series and the new Sony series, we can see the eye detection. It goes like face, eye, and we think that's amazing because it's happening so quick.
Yeah.
But if we go back 10 years ago, that's what focusing time used to be. This time to focus, where now it's just like instant. So I think we'll see that
as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I think we'll see that in the AI technology, is that it's actually happening even before you stop lifting the camera. So as soon as it sees a face, it will do that. And I think we'll also see the the sort of intelligence happening in like color and stuff like that. So we saw it very early on with like Panasonic did very well with the intelligent auto, and then sort of Sony started doing very well with it as well. So it would pick the different scenes for you and things like that. And I think we're going to see a lot of advancements in that side of things as well. So it'll be so interesting to see what they can actually do.
Yeah, I think so. And I think also with camera handling, we might not see that many changes in terms of button and dial arrangement, but I think perhaps there's a lot of scope for doing stuff with the menus. Because if you think, we've all got smartphones, or most of us have, and you should, if you don't like the app where it is on the screen, you put it on another screen and you move it around, or you group it. And surely, we can't be too far away from doing that with menus on cameras.
Oh, that gets me excited.
Yeah, it's almost like when Samsung made that smart camera phone, where it had Android.
We weren't ready for it yet.
No, we weren't. Especially the speed. Like 3 hours later, it'll do whatever you just hit the thing. But that's really interesting that the user interface will adapt to the way that we want it to. I suppose that would work really well with the AI as well in terms of facial detection, because like you mentioned with a wedding, if you were to be able to on the fly choose who the most important people were in the room, and you could set them in priority with that much simplicity, where you could just be like, right, take a picture. That's the number one person, the bride. Number two is the bridegroom. And like Paul and I do some weddings. Do you think that'd be just like we'll just set it up and click?
Imagine if on the start of the wedding day, like you would just go, I just need to set my camera up, and you photographed the bride and groom and like said to the camera, right, these are the most important people in the day. That'd be brilliant.
I'm going to put it on a gimbal and just let them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Paul will be at home.
There's the speed recognition already. You can register faces to some cameras. So.
I mean the speed.
Speed
with the interface, like you were saying, because then you could do event photography and be able to choose who was most important in the room at that time. And if you're moving from hall to hall or conference room to conference room, I think that
just set it really quickly.
I think that's probably one of the oddest things about camera manufacturing at the moment is it's very much this is what we can do. You use it how we tell you to use it. I think when we can get to the point where even like the internet with things like Squarespace and Wix, the infinite amount of ways you can create a website and change things around, if that can be done as simply in a camera, then removing the tool out of the way, with you saying about the AI and the autofocus, if it can just do it and all you have to focus on is figuring out the composition and where you want to position your light source and things like that, I think when the tool can get out of the way of the creative process rather than influencing and giving you parameters which perhaps aren't as useful as if you self-inflicted a parameter, like you chose to put a manual lens, a prime at a certain aperture, I think that'll be game-changing for almost every photographer in every genre, whereby that they could get to choose. And also then it brings in third parties being able to help you edit almost on the fly or choose certain ways of developing an image, so that when you're pushing it through to your computer, if you're tethered or you want to put it straight up to Instagram, that is very exciting, Angela.
I hope they do it now.
Right.
Maybe that can be your next project.
Fair enough.
Software development for cameras.
August next year.
Yeah.
There are quick menus and there are, my menus, but even the way you change those is quite clunky. If you could just put your finger on something and drag it up and down, or swipe it to a different screen and rearrange, whatever you like to shoot, you can put all your key things together.
Yeah, that would be magic. Because we often, proper photographers bemoan the smartphone revolution of photography, and everybody's a photographer and everybody thinks they can take a picture because they have a smartphone. And why does everybody's smartphone look better than my picture straight out of the gate? And I think that'll be interesting to see whether you can develop that processing power. So what looks great on your iPhone will look great on whatever camera you have. And then with the customizability that you say, and being able to create custom modes that are dial switchable like they already are, but are so easy to develop, and almost maybe have a, hey Siri, I want to take this picture, and be able to tell the camera the setting on the fly. Hey?
I said more contrast, or
yeah. Get that clarity slider across.
Fly up that mountain.
Yeah. That is the next one, shouting at a drone. Fly left, fly right.
You can do gestures, can't you?
Yeah, you can. But imagine it's a mile away and you've got a VR headset and you can shout at it and say, oh, you're going to crash. Get closer, get closer. So talking about developments in the future, AI being one that we've spoken about a lot, and the benefits that will come from that, and extra processing power and things like that. You started working in 2004, I think it was, and with AP and things like that. So what has been the most interesting development in the industry, whether it's camera related or just in terms of general usage of cameras?
When I joined AP, majority of the testing was, well, it was all actually either SLRs or compacts, and we were still switching between film and digital. So obviously that's a massive change. I think I bought my first digital SLR. I think it was right at the end of 2003.
Okay.
And so we've had that massive change. But then I would say the biggest one is the introduction of mirrorless technology. Yeah. And it's been so funny watching that, because from the outset I thought, oh, this has got massive potential. And people sort of saying, oh, well, the screen, the viewfinders are terrible. Well, that's going to improve. The autofocus is slow. Well, that's going to get better. And then people say, oh, it could never get better because SLRs have got dedicated sensors. And you kind of think, well, the same technology can probably at some point, I mean, I don't personally know how to do it, but you can get that technology on an imaging sensor, surely. And sure enough, we've got lots of cameras now with phase detection focusing all over the sensor. And I find it quite strange, actually, if you test a load of mirrorless cameras and then an SLR comes in and you're suddenly thinking, why can't I focus over there? And it's because you've just got a little cluster of AF points, because you've got a separate sensor and stuff like that. So
I have to admit that I saw the Panasonic, because I think Panasonic were one of the first to bring out the mirrorless, and I remember seeing the potential launch for it. So they cut up a Panasonic, I think it was the G1. They cut one in half and then showed what the inside would look like, and then mounted it in glass. And I remember looking at it at an exhibition and going, that's never going to catch on. And then like a year later, it was just like, my bad.
I love the fact that as soon as anyone in the camera industry develops something, the first instinct is to cut it in half.
Yeah, that's bizarre, isn't it? You'd think they'd figure out a better way of imaging the inside of a camera, wouldn't you? Without having to take a saw to it.
Yeah, it is a really good way of explaining it, I suppose. There's this extra space. But it wasn't actually a mirrorless camera, but I remember, because obviously a lot of bridge cameras, when they started coming along, have got electronic viewfinders. And I remember writing in a review for AP that the viewfinder was like looking at a really terrible CCTV camera at the end of a toilet roll tube, which
great description.
They've come a long way since then, and they've gone from being something you really didn't want to something that actually is really quite beneficial. There's a lot of
almost to the point you'd miss it if you didn't have it.
Yeah. You think, oh, there's no more. Oh, no, I've been shooting in black and white. I should be shooting in color. And
loads of stuff.
Why is this so badly underexposed? And that sort of thing.
And not missing the shot as well, because you're not chimping. I think that is magic, and especially when from our point of view, when a customer comes in, they want to buy a camera, and you're explaining the differences. And one of the great selling points of a mirrorless camera is just saying, if you want to learn photography very quickly and see how everything reacts to each other, learning the exposure triangle, doing that on a mirrorless camera, super easy, because you can see the results straight away. You're not having to check on the back. Yeah. So
just more like a logical transition from a phone as well, because you're not sort of thinking, why does it look nothing like I thought? You know?
Definitely. So do you think the future for mirrorless and DSLR changes substantially from what it is now, or not?
Yeah, I think so. I think SLRs will become increasingly niche. I mean, if you look at the last year, the launches, we've had the D780, haven't we, from Nikon? We've had was the 90D this year, or was that last year?
I think it was last year. Yeah.
We've had the 850D. Oh, and then we've had the D6 and the EOS 1X Mark III. So I think we've had 4 SLRs, something like that. And it's an unusual year because it should have been an Olympics, so that's why we had the D6 and the EOS 1DX. And it wouldn't surprise me if they were the last DSLRs at that level, to be honest.
Okay.
And then you look at all the other cameras that they're all mirrorless or compacts or something, but the technology has just come on so far. I don't think the SLRs will completely disappear in the same way that, you know, you can still buy a TLR, you can still buy a film camera, and, you know, you can still buy a rangefinder. You know, it's a different thing.
And I think like a company like Ricoh Pentax will almost dominate in that area, because they have announced that they, you know, they're in development of their new full frame DSLR, and I think that even though the market is sort of closing down, I think companies like Ricoh Pentax are gonna still potentially do quite well, because they're like sticking to sort of what they know and sort of designing it quite well.
Yeah. And it makes sense from an economic point of view as well, because if you're a manufacturer and you've got one line producing this sort of camera and another line producing that sort of camera, and this line is doing really well, and you're kind of thinking, well, this is only working, started off 70% of the time, 50, 40, you know, and it keeps going down, then how long are you going to maintain that? Or how long before you switch over to making more of this camera that you can't make fast enough?
Ask Sony that question. A mount versus E mount. It's pretty obvious now, isn't it, what's going to happen with A mount? Which is a shame, because
not officially though.
No. But A mount was
official.
Yeah, that's very true, especially in this industry. But the A mount was an impressive camera setup in terms of the technology it used, and still very capable. But you can see how they've pushed so much harder in the mirrorless sphere. And we were having a conversation earlier about how EOS R RF mount, and the way that came along, and along with the Nikon Z, and kind of went to the industry, right, mirrorless now is the dominant side of the market, because you saw how Sony came into the market with A mount, and then they got E mount, and they became one of the biggest full frame sensor manufacturers in the world. And you think, goodness me, what's going to happen with Canon? And then they bring out the R5 and the R6, and game on. Like, this is really interesting stuff to see how the market is now developing, and going forwards, what it looks like in the next Olympic year. Will they bring out EOS R1 or something like that? You know, to be the replacement for the EOS 1DX Mark III and stuff. So I think that's interesting for sure.
Yeah,
so.
Really interesting. And I mean, Canon's a very interesting case, because obviously they've now got 4 mounts.
They have.
Yeah.
Play to them.
They'll start juggling them all at this rate.
And Nikon has got still got 2, but obviously, you know, the Z is new, and all of the benefits that mount brings. But it works with full frame or APS-C format, which is you know, it's nice and simple.
For sure.
I think that's a good shout on Nikon's part, definitely.
Yeah,
it'd make our lives easier, wouldn't it, if there's just one mount to rule them all?
Yeah. Well, interestingly, we can probably hit some of the comments, and I believe that is potentially one of the comments sort of coming up as well. So, so we've had a lot of hellos and love SheClicks as well, which is always nice. Can you find that question, Joel? Sorry,
which
there
one?
was one about lenses, I think.
Yep. So I think it was Coed ZZ.
Oh yeah.
Would it be a great idea if camera companies started putting standard pro lenses on their new cameras? I'm sure they could instead of kit lenses.
Yeah, I guess it depends on the bundle that you buy, because often you can buy the camera body only and then buy a lens, but I get you want a couple of £100 off if you buy them together, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think from we've experienced from a retailer point of view that it can be sometimes quite a bit frustrating for the user to navigate of what kits are available. So, and it can be an area where you can get really sort of pulled up on as well. So it can be sort of like, oh, you know, I want X camera. Oh, but there's like 7 or 8 kits available that I can buy, and then like you start thinking, oh, should I go for this one? Should I go for that one? Oh, there's a slightly better saving if I buy these two. I think Olympus do quite well because they do. I think all the manufacturers do quite well. They always have some sort of promotion on, but I think when you buy like a body only, and then you can buy any lens that you want, but then a potential little saving that you can have on any kit works quite well. I think Fuji do it the best actually when they do their sort of when bought with sort of offers and stuff. So I think
one of the sorry, go ahead.
No, you go. I think you're going to say what I was going to say anyway.
I think one of the issues is that when you buy a camera, especially if you're at the level wanting a pro lens, you either already own it or it's going to be part of your purchase idea. But like, it'd be really odd to buy an EOS R5 or an R6 with a 70-200, wouldn't it? That seems a very bizarre kit, or a 150-600 or a 100-400. Although arguably, EM1 Mark III with a 100-400 would be a great kit, and that would be like wildlife photographers sorted with no issues.
I guess in some instances, say if you've got a whole, say if you're talking about Nikon Z series, for example, if you've got a whole load of f-mount lenses, but for some reason you don't have a 70-200, then you might buy the Z7 II with an adapter and get the 70-200 because you know you can put all your F glass on there. Maybe you do that. So yeah, outwardly it's a bit odd, but I always think it's very strange when a manufacturer doesn't immediately make a body only camera option available. You know, it doesn't happen that often, but sometimes it does. You think, well,
oh yeah, when there's no body only available. Yeah,
that tends to happen at the lower end, doesn't it, where it's more of a starter entry level camera, which is interesting because it almost forces people to think a camera falls in a certain category, which we've found over the years that people come along and buy a certain camera and you think, that's a really odd choice. But then they say, oh, I do such and such, and this is perfect for that. Yeah. Astrophotography or nightscape photography is a case in point where a camera just becomes legendary because it happens to have just the right combination of being able to capture the stars or whatever. And you think, nobody thought that was and it used to happen. Like the 550D was one, wasn't it? And the 5D Mark II, both arguably very legendary cameras in terms of filmmaking and bringing it to the masses. And also Magic Lantern being able to change the firmware and things to achieve options that were only available in very expensive cine style cameras. And I think that's something I find quite interesting, is that almost rebellious path making that photographers sometimes come along and do, and they go, nah, we're not going to use the camera for what you thought it was intended for. It's going to be really useful for such and such instead. So I think that comes along with lens choice for the manufacturers, because you add 2 colors and then you have 3 different lenses. That's 6 variants without even trying. And then you've got to ask a retailer and also your logistical side of the business to make that happen successfully. And it does make you wonder, what goes on in terms of the choice of lenses sometimes, because you look at some of the kit lenses and you think these are magic. You don't need any other lens once you've bought that lens. That's like a cracking bit of kit for not a lot of money. And then other lenses, you think, oh my life, what did they do? Why have they just made a camera that good and stuck that nonsense on the front of it?
Yeah.
So
Sony 2870.
Yeah. On an A7 III. Yeah. What were your thoughts on that one, Angela?
Not the best.
Yeah.
When you were talking about colours, though, I immediately started thinking about Pentax.
Oh, Struth. Yeah.
They
What
like their colours. And I was in Japan, and we were past a camera shop, and it was literally like someone had taken a load of sweets and melted them on top of these cameras. There was just every different colour combination. Just within one camera, and the lenses was different, and you could.
Which one was that?
It was
It was a while back.
It's the flipping heck, K50.
Yeah, K50.
Yeah, and they also did it with the Pentax Q system.
Yes,
we had the 100 colours in the window for a bit as well. So on
for a very long time.
Q. Yeah.
It is interesting though, colours in cameras, because if you look at iPhone, for example, they've got quite a range of colours, especially when they did the iPod Nanos and things. You could buy those in all sorts of colours. But colours are a very odd question in the photography industry, because people expect them to be black or silver, maybe rarely white, and the white never looks quite right. They don't quite have the attention to detail that Apple seem to have with white. But I think that is an interesting one going forward. Fuji did customization, didn't they? You could skin your X series, which was quite cool. But there was obviously a limited selection. I'd quite like to see if in the future there's more customizability. Cameras, you buy an iPhone or a latest Samsung, and you immediately go and stick a case on it normally, because you don't want your £1,000 piece of glass to smash after the first day of owning. And I wonder, obviously they made those silicon shields for cameras way back in the day.
You can get your cameras wrapped now, and I'm seriously looking into it. I don't think it's quite there yet. Pink leopard skin, Joel.
Pink leopard skin.
Call it Bentley. To be honest, I think actually where most of the customization we're going to see is within the camera. I think there's going to be a lot less customization, because the margins are coming down. I mean, I don't talk about you guys about this, and everything's becoming a little harder. And because of phones, we've got to manufacturers are having quite a tough time. And I think that means you see fewer variants.
Yeah, I just wonder if there's a third-party option available, where if the manufacturer decided to make certain parts interchangeable, and then somebody else can make those bits for it.
That's quite a tangent, that, Joel, I have to say.
I just think it's going to be interesting, because a lot of our objects now are less tool-like and more fashion items.
Yeah.
And bags are one of those things. How many camera bags now look like camera bags? If you didn't know that they were camera bag, a lot of times you only have to look at Peak, Shimoda, some of the Think Tank range, Timber, stuff like that. Those are some of the brands that we sell. Low Pro for years have not looked like camera bags. They've looked more like hiking rucksacks and things. And I just wonder if that's another avenue that will help reach a younger market, which is arguably where manufacturers do need to figure it out, because otherwise people aren't going to use bigger, better, proper cameras. They're just going to be keeping using their Huawei with a million different cameras built into it, and you never need to buy a bigger lens. Obviously, there's a bit tongue-in-cheek with the technology, but equally, why would you buy a massive camera that's got great lenses if you can buy a phone that's much smaller? You can have it in whatever color you like, and it's a fashion item to you as much as it is a tool or a device. I just wonder if that's something that might happen in the future. Who knows? But I do agree, like, the insides of a camera is always going to be the most important one. So, I'm just wondering if there's any other questions, but I was wondering about, we've spoken about features, but is there one feature that's not on a camera yet that you know of that you would think, why could they not just do that? That would be an awesome feature. Obviously, you spoke about menu rearrangement, but
well, something I've said to many manufacturers, and they still haven't brought it out, so they're obviously not listening properly. It's right. You got your camera level and the level. Why can we not have a self timer that's connected with that level, so that when the camera level, it actually trips the shutter, or it records the angle that the image was taken at. So when you open it in your chosen software, it goes and it corrects your horizon. That's probably better because you're less likely to moving.
Why the heck is nobody listening to you, Angela? Come on. That's very simple.
Like, come on, no, this. I haven't mentioned
super simple. It can't be difficult to implement that at all.
I spoke to someone at Adobe, and they reckon it wouldn't be that tricky because that information just needs to be recorded in the EXIF data. I don't know like you. I can't take a level photograph if my life depends on it. So I'm always looking at that level. And it would be nice. I don't even
try anymore.
I don't bother.
Lightroom.
I just sort of shoot a little bit wider and know that I'm going to have to level it.
I mean, if you've got a horizon, it's easy to straighten. But you know when you've got like the edge of a lake and it's going like that, and you're kind of thinking, is it wonky? And you spend ages going this. If you know that it's actually straight,
100%.
Job done, really. That'd be really nice. You don't mind it. No, you can say it's straight.
Right. This is the world first, everybody. When that feature comes on there, we'll call it the Angela feature.
Yeah.
Angela getting everything straight.
And if anyone calls it anything else, you know, there's this live information here, dated, that we can prove in court.
I didn't expect you to come out with an answer like that, if I'm honest. And I think it's such a simple thing that could be so easily implemented, given that you play with so many different cameras, and that's the feature. That was really interesting.
Thank you. Yeah, so it's something I have mentioned to quite a few manufacturers.
The problem is now I'm not going to be happy until it happens.
No,
I know.
I'm just going to be mentioning it every time now.
My world.
I think Olympus are going to be that company. They're definitely the most innovative in terms of what they put in a camera.
Yeah.
And along with your user interface and usability, I think the amount of things that an Olympus can do, and in the future it'll be able to do even more, and be able to select it so easily, along with getting a horizon straight without even trying. So it should be
manufacturers about the interface menu structure, because to us it just sounds like it's just software, it's just coding, just do this, and they're kind of dying on the inside because they know it's a lot more than that. You know, it is that, but it's a very involved process with lots of testing, and you switch this around and then there's a bug and blah blah blah, you know.
You just need one of those young kids who play on PlayStation and find Easter eggs all the time just to completely go through the menu system and break it. They'll fix it within half an hour, easy.
If you give them achievements when they do it, they'll get it done in half the time as well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'm going to start doing that with my kids when they're a bit older. They'll get badges. Oh, hang on a second. You get badges anyway. Stickers at school for everything. Okay, moving on from gear briefly before we wrap up. Obviously, SheClicks was created to help ladies in the industry and become more confident, and that's working. Do you have any advice for women who want to get into the industry, either in the way that you have with photojournalism and kind of that technical side of things, and being able to help people more behind the scenes, I guess, than perhaps just an out-and-out photographer? How would you help people, women, want to get into the industry? Do you have any advice for them?
I think probably my advice would be similar, whatever industry it was. And, you know, first is to sort of like have a bit of belief in yourself and have the courage of your convictions and just go for it. But I was thinking in terms of photography, there's a tendency, say if you become really keen on photographing sport, and you develop a career or you get into shooting sport, then that's fantastic. but a lot of I know a lot of women who kind of get a bit anxious because they don't know necessarily, they wouldn't want to shoot a wedding, and they feel like they should be able to shoot a wedding because they're a photographer. And but you shoot rugby and football, you know, and a wedding photographer. Okay, you know the basics of, I'm going to need a fast shutter speed, I'm going to need this, that, and the other. But in terms of knowing what you do, you absolutely nail it. So I would say, you know, have the courage of your convictions about what you're doing. And if you decide that you kind of want to move into a different area, by all means start to do that, but don't stress about the fact that you don't know everything about photography. You know, if you don't need to use studio lights, then it doesn't really matter that you don't know how to use studio lights.
That's very true. That's
so
true.
I'd say that. And then the other thing I would say is network. You know, create a group of friends, or join SheClicks or something, but create a group of friends who can support you, and you can bounce ideas off and have chats. Go out to shoot with friends, you know, and just develop and be friendly and supportive. And don't believe what the portrayal of photographers in dramas and things like that. You know, I think you know, if you watch, what is it, detectives never get on with their bosses, they're always mavericks, aren't they? Journalists are absolute hacks, and photographers are hard-bitten people, always smoking, and you know, pushing people out of the way to get the photograph. Don't be like that. You know, just be a normal, nice human being.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, don't feel pressurized into being like that. Just be as you would normally be.
Yeah, that's cool. Really sound advice.
Yeah,
thank you.
That answers my other question as well. What are some myths about the industry? And that that gets rid of that myth. So
yeah.
Last question.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any questions that you think we should have asked?
Wow.
No.
Okay.
That means we're doing our job properly, Joel. So we passed the test.
No, just sometimes I think like we have a certain angle, or we think certain people will be very interested in certain things, and sometimes I think we can often forget that there's something, a nugget of useful information that we perhaps have missed.
I'll let you into a secret, because it's just us three. I always ask that at the end of my interviews with manufacturers as well. Because they've always got some headlines, and they want you to ask the questions, and you try, you know, you have to think of pertinent questions, but you sort of think, is there something they're absolutely bursting to tell me and I haven't asked that? You know,
we're so glad you asked. This is an amazing feature.
Because actually, if you press this button, it will correct the horizon. You know, maybe
Angela does a happy lip dance after that's been said.
Usually the first thing I ask, though, does it correct the horizon?
I'm off.
You get a one-star knockoff, no matter how good the camera is.
Yeah. I can't think of anything. No.
Maybe in the next interview we do it in the future, you might have thought of one that we missed.
Yeah, I'll text you later.
Yeah. It'll be just like a stream of questions. So unless anybody has any more questions before we wrap up, then well, we'll give them a few minutes. But there's lots of love on the SheClick, which is very cool. Which is, oh, here we go. This one, whilst if anybody else wants to put any more questions in. What do you think of the Peak Design tripod, Angela?
You know what? When there was something about that tripod, I really wanted to hate it. And when I got it, I don't know why. I think it was professional jealousy, to be honest, because in America, all these journalists got hold of it and photographers got hold of it really early, and it took quite a long time to get it in the UK. Mm-hmm. And then it turned up, and I kind of was holding the legs, and I thought, well, these are really flimsy. And then I put it, you know, stood it on its legs and stuff, and it was like, oh. And I think it's really, really good. I think it's the best travel tripod around.
Oh, that's quite a statement.
Oh, yes. I think I wrote that in my review.
Oh,
I've got the carbon fiber one, and I forget what the difference is. Is it 600 gram? I can't remember now. You know, the aluminium one will probably be a little bit stronger, but it's also a little bit heavier. And I kind of think, what do you really want from a tripod, a travel tripod? Yeah. And literally, I've carried that tripod without realizing it's still in my bag. So, you know, I think that's great. And I've also shot with like the Z7 70-200 for 15 seconds on a windy day, and it's completely sharp. So what more can you say? Slightly strange tripod head, but yeah.
Yeah.
Very,
But you
very
can
good.
change it, can't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can.
Well,
yeah,
we're not going to give too much away because
Oh, yeah,
we
that's
do
true.
have Peak Design sort of coming in this
Oh.
week to talk about
Wednesday, isn't it? Or is it
Yeah,
Monday? I can't
so
remember.
Who's coming in?
whenever it is.
It's Andy. What's it? I'll find it.
Excellent.
Oh yeah, it's Monday at 3 p.m.
Okay.
So he's going to go through the peak design range. So
He's going to go through everything.
well, I'm not sure if he's going to go through everything, but
quite a
that'll
lot.
be quite a feet.
Yeah.
So
I really
got
like
like 30 different bags.
Yeah. I've got a couple of their backpacks. I've got one of the
I think I have 10 peak design
Cracking.
products at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got 3 of their travel line.
Yeah, their travel line. I was a bit disappointed though because I'm very lucky. I shouldn't moan. They sent it to me to try it, and I really love it. But I wanted the green one.
Oh, the sage. Yeah. Oh, I went all black though.
And I've got the black one. So
I'm so like that with bags. When people send us to test stuff, I'm just like, couldn't you not send this other colour?
Yeah, that's more interesting in a photograph as well. To be fair, when here's another black bag. Here's another black bag. We test a black bag, so it's nice. Green one.
Yeah, they do make some very cool colours.
Yeah,
so,
very nice.
But,
And they're
I love the peak design stuff.
They're the tech pouch.
Yeah, I've got one of those.
Very useful. Oh yeah, mine is
tech pouch, field pouch, and I've got the wash bag. The wash bag is really nice.
I've got the shoe bag thing.
Yeah, I do too, and I've got the cubes.
Yeah. I am a travel cube nerd. They're just gathering dust now, but I am a travel cube nerd.
So I bought them for traveling to America more because my sister-in-law moved out there, and I've been once. Oh dear.
Oh, well. What I can see start building here is the next Facebook group that Joel and Angela are going to make.
Yeah.
The Peak Design Appreciation Group.
Society.
Group, I think.
Yeah, that's true. One last comment. Anna Backlund, says, thank you so much. I really enjoyed this. I did miss where to look for reviews for camera bags. Do you do those on Camera Jabber?
Yeah,
Camera Jabber.
So if you type the name of the bag that you want to look at, review, and then Camera Jabber, take you straight there. Sometimes it might take you straight there anyway. Or just type in Camera Jabber and have a little search around.
Yeah. Lots of great content.
And
it's nice always to put a face to a website as well. So it gives you a little bit more confidence in sort of seeing it, so which is always nice. So anyone that's watching this video, we highly recommend that you pop over to Camera Jabber and have a look at some of the amazing reviews.
If you're a woman, SheClicks.
Yes. Yeah. And you can also buy some wonderful merch off the SheClicks.net website as well. So go and check out some of the merchandise that they've got going on. So this is where I would plug our own merchandise if somebody would get it ready.
It's just because I've been so busy. I've got the designs.
Yeah, it's not like
we've got the designs.
It's not like we're doing a show over 9 days. Going live
working every single day.
Yeah.
Which idiot decided that was a good idea? Say again.
You're going to have Cambrian tattoos as well?
Oh, maybe. Ooh. What do you reckon, Paul? Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
Can you do it Cambrian across your knuckles?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Massive thank you, Angela, for popping on and speaking to us. I hope everybody who watched it found it interesting. I know I really enjoyed it, but I'm a gearhead, so I'm always going to enjoy a conversation like this. But
this was very gear orientated, and I think if anyone wants to explore any of the gear side of things as well, we're definitely going to be suggesting this to be rewatched as well, because I think it's just been such an interesting interview. So, and just really chewing the camera fat on what has been, is, and will be. It's been brilliant.
And when they allow you to shoot level pictures, we'll have hit
Click.
hit the apex of photography.
We can all retire then. It's all done.
Yeah.
Thank you. I've really, really enjoyed it, and I'm very flattered to have been invited. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
That's
And
brilliant.
hopefully we can see you in the future
Yes.
for more camera talk.
Look forward to that.
Great.
Well-
So we'll pop you off screen and then we'll just say goodbye to everybody and we'll speak to you in a moment.
Bye
Cheers,
then.
Angela. Bye.
Joel, you're getting used to the clicking buttons
clicking,
now.
I know.
Yeah, yeah, you're becoming a right pro. Thank you for everyone watching. It's always wonderful to see your comments and such an amazing comments that we've had this evening as well. If you haven't already, please make sure that you like this video and share it with all your friends. Go over to our Facebook and YouTube channels, hit subscribe. And also make sure that you get hit the notifications. No, mucked it up, Joel. I've got off course. And this is what live's all about. Make sure you click reminders so you get notifications on when we go live. That's what I should have said.
Good job.
You can also see all of the recorded videos that we've done and all the lives coming up for this virtual winter show on our website, which is cambrianphoto.co.uk. So they're all on there to rewatch or to schedule for watching live. And
we'll see you tomorrow at 3 p.m. for David Clapp talking about architecture and astrophotography, which will be very interesting.
Looking forward to it. So it's another 2-for-1.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, we'll see you tomorrow, and thanks for watching.
See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye now. Are you pressing the button or am I?
No, you're the button pusher.
Okay, I was just checking. Bye now.